At the beginning of the year, I was mostly getting ready to move to the new place when it was time for me to leave the previous place due to the rent rising and no way to lower the cost, so I had to act quickly before my financial situation gets worse. And so, for the entirety of January of 2024, I've slowly packed all the things I'm going to take with me, and by the end of January, I have officially moved out of the old place, cleaned it out so they don't charge me for extra, and turn in the keys and don't look back. And so now I could say that I'm at a better position than where I was a year ago. So now I can focus more on my current projects and going to places where I've never been to before. And that's exactly what I did in February from the footage seen here, located in the state of Sabah, Malaysia, to take a bit of a vacation from everything back home, even for how expensive this endeavor is and how much the moving cost was from earlier. And even then, I've managed to come this far with very little I have at the time. This is not to say that I haven't done a whole lot, even for how little I upload due to life keeping me busy, as I still have to work a full-time job and coming home from work exhausted as I tried to come up with some ideas and concepts, and even fallen into a couple of other rabbit holes to figure out what else I can do, as I'm still figuring out what to do with the extra stuff I have to get rid of that I no longer need anymore, in which so far I've managed to get rid of and sell a lot of stuff, and even found a few places to where I end up getting rid of them at a loss with little in return, just so I don't have to keep it with me anymore, which I came to terms with and bite the bullet to whoever is offering at the given price. But then that's pretty much what the entire year has been. And even though I gotten rid of a lot of stuff, I also end up getting new stuff given to me by my dad and a few other people, including my friend Game Dreamer, in which I'll get to later in this video. So anyways, for the first 4 to 5 months, looking for an Omegle alternative since the website had shut down, I've explored a few different sites, in which I came across one called Emerald Chat, and even for how bad it is and the number of inappropriate things I've come across, I did manage to come across some pretty decent people, and some even recognizing who I am from the previous website. And for a short while, that's what I've been streaming on as I come up with other types of content to release, as Omegle content is no longer the main focus of my channel, aside from the live streaming side of things. However, sometime around June, someone had eavesdropped into my server who I haven't seen in a while, decided to drop by and tell me about this website that recently showed up called Omegle with a UH instead of an O have launched, and how it's trying to recreate the original website down to its appearance. And so I got curious and decided to check it out, and when I did go on the website, it definitely looked like the original site down to the aesthetic and a bit more modernized. And so I decided to join the official Discord, in which I got introduced to the owner of the website called Max, in which he had happened to know who I am to an extent. And for a short amount of time, I've contributed a little bit in the development of the website in terms of what to watch out for, what rules to set, and a few tiny portions of suggestions to make the website better, as it had quite a bit of problems regarding the majority of users who couldn't keep it in their pants and no way to report them at the time. And it wasn't long until some major updates have been implemented, and a couple of mishaps later managed to bring the website to where it's at, but more on that in a separate video. and another video talking about how I've visited the physical location of a competing website months after the discovery of Omego. Over the past 8 to 9 months, I've had difficulties trying to work on videos, not necessarily because I don't have the know-how or working programs in order to get them working. As a matter of fact, my previous system before I sold it was more than capable to work on making videos. The problem here is gaining the motivation to really sit down and get those videos up and running, as I have a tendency to want to perfect and to a degree want to release something that's not very common. But it took me a while to realize that no matter how much time it would take to put in a video, if it's not released at some point soon, you're gonna lose interest and end up working on other things, and in some instances even forget about that project for a lengthy amount of time, in which I've made that mistake many times before, resulting in me having a folder full of unfinished projects from years ago simply because I lost interest due to burnout and losing motivation to, with whatever I have at my disposal, either working on them under Linux or to a degree using my smartphone to make a few other things, with not a whole lot of success in the results I'm looking for. And for whatever videos I have almost finished, I just released them with a few slight adjustments with somewhat okay results, even if it wasn't like my previous videos that had more engagement. But during that time, I was a lot more focused on just live streaming, as it was a lot easier for me to focus on that due to the live interactions. And maybe I could try to figure out how to grab some of my clips and make something out of them, as I've seen others do before. The only problem is going through all that footage is actually quite a daunting task, resulting in the state on where my online presence is at, only limited to recognition coming from the websites I visited during my live streams, as well as some video games that I have played on before. So hopefully once I figure out the best method on making videos as quickly as I possibly can without sacrificing the quality so much. So anyways, one of the last things that I want to mention was the fact that I had to halt everything I was doing when someone in my personal life had a lot of trouble with their health, and there wasn't really anyone else that's willing to take care of this person. And so I had to really sacrifice a portion of my work schedule in order to keep an eye out on her, and unfortunately it became unbearable to the point she had ended up dragging me down. And as much as I was doing my best to keep her spirit up, I was struggling financially and mentally to where I was dangerously close to my breaking point. Even with all the doctor visits and psychiatric treatments, she was nowhere close in recovering. And so the last thing that was brought up was to bring her with a family member that can possibly help her with her issue. And so I had to drive for hours away from home to drop her off with her brother, and from there he will do what he can to help her recover, as he seems to know how to handle these things better than I could. And with that peace in mind, I'm able to return home and continue where I left off, catching up on whatever I have been falling behind on, in which I'm slowly but surely recovering financially, and even had some spare time to do a few other things while I'm at it. And so my plans for 2025 will be documented as well as listed once I figure out the best way on how to get all that organized, as well as taking care of my other priorities that I'm yet to overcome. Although there has been a bit of pessimism regarding the the year 2025. I just really hope that it's not going to be that bad and that everything will work itself out, as the majority of all the bad things that can happen and could happen are only temporary. Even if it seems like it's going to take forever, there will be a light by the end of the tunnel for something better to come out. Special thanks to those that contributed and donated into making this venture possible, and shout out to my friend the Game Dreamer, who also gave me some of his stuff when I was helping him out in cleaning out his storage, and perhaps we'll find out if we'll be working on projects together later down the line. Till then, this is LR7 making it through the end of the year to pick up where I left off in the coming new year and logging off.
Rồi, dito mo yung mga